So every time AWS will generate a public IP address for our EC2 instance. So every time when I stop or when I reboot my EC2 instance, a new public IP address will assign to it, right? But if we want to have a static IP address, we have to go to elastic IP address, then allocate an up an, an, a public IP address, then assign it to your EC2 instance. Then, however you reboot your EC2 instance, you will have the same public IP address. So now let me go to the worker node here, and they have public address assigned to it because this worker node is in the public subnet. So now let me go here to my box term, then open a new session, right? Then for the name is Ubuntu, and then for the private key I will choose this key. They will call it worker. I will clear that now, and now I am here. I am on my master node that I have access to it through the Bayesian instance. Sorry, I could not pronounce it well, but this instance that will allow me to access to the instance that are in the private subnets, right? So now I have, from this instance, I have access acted to this instance, right? So now I can run commands on this instance from this instance, as you see here. Next step now is try to install the dependencies that are needed to run kubedm that will create our Kubernetes cluster. So we will copy this, right? Then create file called script.sh shell script. Then I paste it here. Then I will save it, right? Then I will change the mode. The user, I will add the execution permission script. Click on the tape button, right? Then I have script.sh, right? And why, in your opinion, this instance is able to communicate with the outside? Is because we have assigned to the private subnet that once the private subnet want to communicate with the outside, they must use the NAT that reside in the public subnet. And here I have to do the same thing on the master node. So this command, you must run them both on the master node and on the worker node. So script.sh, right, and paste it here. Yes, and then chamod user, you have to add permission. This is script. Tape, right? Then install all the dependencies, right? Clear. Sudo docker sudo service docker status, right? It's running. Clear that here. Nice. The next step is, first thing that we have to do is to check C group or the C drive of our container runtime. This is an issue if you don't check, and if the kubelet and the docker in our case, or any container runtime, they must to have the same C group driver, right? In this case, we want to force the kubelet to have the same C group driver as the Docker. But in the next labs, we will change the Docker C driver from C groups fs to systemd. Then go down here and create a file, call it nano config kubdm, then dash.yaml, then paste this configuration here. Because we will use the flannel container network interface, we are using this subnet. If you are wanting to use Calico CNA, that stands for the container network interface, you can choose this subnet, right? So let me come here and save this, right? Then run kubdm init dash config, then type config and click on the tape button, then run this command. Nice. So now what I have to do is go and try to copy and paste to run this command on the worker node. Paste it here, right? For example, this is by mistake. I have to run this command as a root user. So to run a command as a root user, you have to type sudo. This sudo gives you the privilege of the root user, right? But I don't want to copy the same command here and paste it here. Instead, I will type the double exclamation mark, and that means to apply this sudo to the previous command, and type enter, and it will run. You can see here. Nice. And then I will copy this and paste it in the master node.